Hi, it's me, Jules. Just a short video, one that will go in between interviews. There may be more than one at some point when I get more practiced at this. Bear with me, please. So today I'd like to talk about a brief explanation of what I say as spirituality. I have talked about spirituality being a an aspect of this series called Ancient Moon Woman and Friends. So I've spoken about the Ancient Moon Woman archetype that I entitle when I do the more, what I call the more the high vibe work. So basically, I began my own literal journey with connecting to spirit, to spirituality, to consciousness, to the higher vibrations, to universal love, all mean the same to me. I listened to a podcast, a lady in Ireland, and I can't remember her name, I'm really sorry. I think it was something about hedge witchery. And she did a podcast. It was many years ago. It must be getting on for 7 years ago now. And she was interviewing a woman called Pat McCabe. I'm friends with Pat McCabe now on Facebook. Yay. So Pat McCabe is, I find, to be very, very inspirational. I'm not too sure of her indigenous lineage. However, she is so shamanic. And I don't want to put any other labels on her because I'm not really sure. She comes from what we would call the Navajo tribe, which in the Navajo language, I believe, is Dine, Dine, with an acute accent. Yeah, acute accent on the E. So I think it's pronounced Dine, but I'm not sure. And I'd not heard of Pat McCabe before. And she was over the airwaves, whether she was there in Ireland, I'm not sure, but she was speaking to this woman in Ireland. And the woman was asking about our indigenous almost spirituality, it's a connection to our ancestral lineage of the higher vibe life, and said, we kind of lost it in the West. And coming from the UK, I do connect to the Celtic. I am attracted to the Saxon. I'm attracted to the Viking because we were invaded. Now, the Roman as well, we were invaded by Romans, but there wasn't a lot of integration apparently between the Romans and the indigenous Brits. So I come from Wales. I believe that I have a lineage going all the way back to the Brythonic, which one race, if you want to call it, were Celts. So Celtic. I'm attracted to Celtic. Celtic knots, Celtic art, Celtic languages, you name it. My grandparents spoke Welsh. Sadly, at the time, the opportunity for me to carry that through my father, who also spoke Welsh, we moved to England. So it was not the done thing to speak Welsh. And my father didn't have any other adults around to speak Welsh with. So he didn't converse with us children in Welsh, which is, I find a bit sad, but hey ho, people do what they do. But I used to sit as a child listening in the Welsh home, in my grandparents' home in Wales, all the family around, and my grandparents, my grandmother and my grandfather would converse in Welsh a lot. And I would just sit fascinated listening to it. It was almost like a lullaby to me. So there was something in me that fully connected, fully. My body just went into, it was just beautiful. I only recently discovered that my Welsh grandmother's father could not speak English. And he died, I think, in the 1960s. And he was probably late 70s, early 80s. So I'm not too sure what year he was born, but it was probably late 19th century. And I remember him, my great grandfather. And I remember as a child him being very reluctant to hold a conversation with me. And I would jabber away my childhood English, and this man would just nod sagely, puff away on his pipe, and then return to his newspaper, sat by a roaring fire. Oh man, I felt dismissed. And it's only recently I found out he couldn't speak English. So these are some of the things we carry through from childhood that we believe about people. I believed he was not very social. And actually, he couldn't speak English. And adults in those days didn't admit to children what they believed to be their limitations. So no one else in my family said, there's no point speaking to him because he can't speak English. They would see that as something not to share. That was his secret, almost. That can develop into a conversation about secrets and lies that occur in family patterns. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. I'm here to talk about spirituality. Back to Pat McCabe. So the woman on the podcast asked Pat McCabe, what would you advise people like me who do feel that disconnection from the actual ancient rites and rituals of which we have no records, and it's not been brought down through the lineage? What would you recommend? And Pat McCabe explained how in her place, in where she lives, the practice is to offer give an offering to Mother Earth. And she said we would use our indigenous plants, which are not the same as ours. We would offer them some corn or maize. We would offer corn or maize as an offering. And she said, the way I do it, I stand barefoot on the ground and I just say to the mother, the great mother, thank you. Here's a gift of offering of gratitude to you for hosting me in my life. Is there anything I need to know today? And then for some reason I went off and I didn't finish listening to the podcast. But what Pat explained just really, really, again, this is something that really landed in my body. I resonated with that as much as I had resonated with the language of my ancestors floating around me in that warm kitchen as a child. The exact same kind of knowing. This is the knowing that begins GNOW, not KMOW. It's that gnosis. It's the God. Gnosis being the opposite of agnostic. Gnostic beginning with G. It's that knowing, it's that gnosis. Something was deeply connecting in my body. So I decided that I would do similar. And Pat said, you won't have corn, you won't have maize, throw anything. You may have, something that you might be going to put on the compost heap. That kind of thing, offer it, because it will be composted down and it will go into Mother Earth's layer. She said, if you feed the birds, that's a gift to Mother Earth. You're feeding her creatures. You're being kind to an animal. That's an offering. That's a gift to Mother Earth. That's you being kind to one of her creatures, which includes us because we're her creatures. So a side comment from me is to say, being kind to ourselves is honouring, is very honouring of our species, because you are part of your species. I am part of my species. We are all part of the same species. And Mother Earth treats us as one of her beloved creatures. So if we're kind to an animal, we just think, well, we should be kind to animals. We're animals. We're mammals. We should be kind to ourselves. Again, that's another huge conversation to have, isn't it? So I began doing this process, going outside, bare feet, in my back garden, making an offering and asking, is there anything I need to know today? And I know how to be present. I know how to do that sacred presence process. So I would go into the place. So I would compare it to being sitting in a church. You would sit quietly in contemplation or reflection or prayer. But it's not a case of doing a prayer to Mother Earth. It's asking whether we have do we need to know anything today? So I did the process, and I did it every day, every morning. First, as soon as I got up, every single morning, and for about a week, I was getting nothing. And I had had intuitive connections before, so I was slightly thinking, well, this isn't going to be for me. Kept tuning in, tuning in, tuning in, making myself incredibly open to receive. And one day, I received a response, and it's gone on from there. And I've had responses that are funny. I've had responses that are very deep. I've had responses that are fairly dismissive. Not a lot to tell you today. You're doing okay. You know, I've had responses from that reflection, that projection of my love from my heart comes back, because I can focus where it goes, and then it comes back. It took about a week to start happening, and I've been doing that now for nearly, I think nearly 7 years maybe. And I started to blog about these snippets of wisdom I was receiving from my divine spark connection, my spirituality, my higher consciousness, my connection to universal love. And I started to blog them. And I wanted a title for this aspect of me, who you could call it channeling. You know, I always call myself a trainee channeler. But I wanted a name, and my partner was setting up my blog for me. And I said, I want a name for this, so don't make it go live yet until I've come up with a title for it. And I remember he was still sat at the laptop, and I was pottering, and probably about half an hour later, he sent me a link. I think it was on WhatsApp or something, and I just clicked on the link, and it was done, and it was called Ancient Moon Woman. And I was like, whoa, that's brilliant. Where did that come from? So he explained. He said, I know you love ancient wisdom. I know you love the moon. You're a woman. Hence, Ancient Moon Woman was born. Ancient Moon Woman is part of me. And a lot of people have said, oh, you should just use your own name because you're hiding behind Ancient Moon Woman. Initially, that is true. Absolutely true. I was too self-conscious to go fully out there and write a blog, fully shine in my light. You know, oh no, I can't shine in the light. That's not me. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. Now, Ancient Moon Woman is literally part of me. She comes in and out of lots of different aspects of me. She kind of floats in and out. So she's almost like the manifestation of my connection to consciousness, spirituality, the golden thread that I have that goes to the creator, to source, to God, my higher self, whatever label other people want to place on that. So that's that explanation. Well, I was talking before about the body and how our body can receive resonance, something that literally resonates with us. I'm sure most of you listening will have had an example of where your body has been activated in some way. The most common activation is when someone hurts us or upsets us. We feel it in the solar plexus that, oh, we are triggered. A lot of people call it being triggered. I'm triggered. Put that one to the side. There is another one called activation. I call it just spiritual activation, gnosis. It's that other one where we may feel it in different parts of our body. I get different responses to different activations. When I was learning Reiki, I used to freeze. I used to go cold. I used to shiver, and I used to cry. I used to have tears. The other activation I was talking about, when the Welsh people were speaking and it resonated with me, it made me feel warm and comfortable and relaxed, as if, as I said, like a lullaby. I just felt cozy It was comforting. And I literally felt it all the way through my body. There are other kinds of activations that you can experience. Like when I was listening to Pat McCabe and that, what she was explaining about that process to do, just, and it's really hard to explain how it affects my body. But it's when I just know from head to toe, my whole body kind of just says yes. And it's not giddy, it's not exhilaration, it's not ecstasy. It's just it's warm. It's like my skin tingles. It's really hard to explain. But I'm sure you will have had this before, when something has just landed with you and you've just gone, that is so apt for me. I just so totally resonate with that, with the whole of my body. And that place is, for me, that's my intuition saying, this is yes to this process. And I've done it every single morning for nearly 7 years. And I'm someone who historically could get bored very easily and struggle to complete. But I know that that practice will be my morning practice for the rest of my life. That will not be abandoned. That will not be rejected. It is just part of my life now, like breathing. So, talking about mind, body, and spirit. So, if we talk about, somebody's written a book called The Body Keeps the Score. So, everything I've explained there about the body reacting to, it can be an event, it can be a conversation, it can be a thought form, it can be anything, it could be watching a TV program. Our body does respond. If you see something sad on the TV, a sad story, a sad movie, you'll cry. Your body will respond to external from external stimulation into the body. But we say mind, body, spirit, and it is all true. Everything is in the mind, i.e., our minds are a mental tool. And I love the Hermetic teachings. So their teaching is that the universe is mental, i.e., intelligent. There is an intelligence that the universe has. Therefore, we are intelligent. That is a deep explore as well, which I won't go into here. But I do trust that and I believe it. It makes me feel connected to the universe. So we can have mental intelligence, we can have intellect, we can have bodily intelligence, which is when our body responds to external stimulus. That's an intelligence in and of itself. And when you think about the bodily processes, how amazingly intricate and clever and superior they are, that shows intelligence of the body and then the spirit, the intelligence of the spirit. So whatever you feel is spirit, and some people say spiritual or spiritualist, and there is a church called the Church of Spiritualists where you can go and worship, and they will connect people and bring in conversations with loved ones. I don't do that. That's not spiritualist, isn't me. So when I say spiritual, I mean somebody may have heard of New Age spiritual. Oh, it's New Age spiritualism, which is becoming much more mainstream now. A lot of people will have heard of it. And then I go back to when the Christianity came, and you'd already got Judaism, and was Christianity was that their New Age spirituality? So could it be that the New Age spirituality that's coming along now ends up being a religion? I don't know. I hope not. Or could it be? Now, who was it who said this? I think it was Krishnamurti, the Indian philosopher Jiddu Krishnamurti, spiritual philosopher. And he said it would be great if we had 8 billion religions on the planet, our own personal connection to the all, to the Great Spirit, to the higher vibrations of the universe. How brilliant would that be? Rather than having a group of people saying, this is how you have to worship the higher vibrational deity. That isn't for me. And that is no judgment around people who prefer to worship within religion. Now, there is no judgment around that. However, I can see the downsides of that too. Again, which I won't go into here. So I thought what I might do is explain for me the mind. When we think about thoughts that can stimulate reactions in our body or external events can stimulate reactions, those reactions are feelings, aren't they? So if we have low vibe thoughts, intrusive thoughts that come into our minds, they can get overpowering, they can become overwhelming, and we can hence then go into a low mood. So they're low vibrational thoughts. The body then could respond with anxiety, feelings of, feeling anxious. They're vibrations too. They are just vibrations though. We can say they're low vibration, but they are just vibration, and our body is experiencing them. And then with the spirit, the high vibes, the thoughts. How do we get into the high vibe thoughts? We can use meditation. So what I thought I'd do is bring you just a brief little meditation that helps us to relax. So if people are willing, take yourself into a quiet place, relax in the quiet where you won't be disturbed for a few minutes. Just close your eyes, become comfortable, just concentrate on your breathing. A couple of deep breaths. One in, one out. Just feel your body relaxing. Let your body soften into that comfort. And just close your eyes and imagine a rosebud. The colour of the rosebud is the favourite rose colour that you love, and it's a bud. And you can see a little part of the stem as well. Rosebuds have those little, and they're called sepals, the green that surrounds the base of the bud. Really concentrate on what this bud looks like to you. Really concentrate on that. And then start to see the petals opening. Very, very slowly, the petals start to open. The green coverings fall away. The petals start to open very slowly. Each layer of those petals opening more and more and more, until eventually that rose becomes a bloom in full flower. You can see in front of you a magnificent, mature rose flower in the colour that you love. You can smell its scent. You can actually feel it going into your nostrils, bringing beauty, bringing healing. You can feel it. And as you step back, in shelter, starts to rain very gently, very softly, begins to rain. And the raindrops just fall ever so slowly onto the rose. And then the rain just stops and leaves beautiful raindrops on the petals. And as you look in the petals, you can see the colours of the rainbow reflected. And as you look up into the blue sky, there is a giant rainbow, very, very bright, showing every single colour of its spectrum. You look back on the rose, and you realise how beauty can be so, so simple. And yet, when you think about the construction of that flower, how beautifully complex that is as well. Just stay as long as you like, contemplating that beautiful view, that beautiful rose with gorgeous raindrops on it. As you look up, the rainbow has disappeared, but the sky is so, so blue. And you can stay in that place as long as you wish, contemplating that rose. You could also bring that image of that rose back anytime you may feel slightly anxious or stressed, just to support your body to deal with any low vibrations. Go into that contemplation, go into that reflection that you see in the raindrops. Just for a couple of minutes, just bring that rose to your awareness, just to help you relax. When you're relaxed, you find that you can move forward much easier than when you're in an anxious state. When you're ready, open your eyes and just shake off your hands, shake your feet, just, put your shoulders backwards and forwards, up and down. Just bring yourself back into the room. Be fully present with the now. And at the same time, try and remember that image of that rose. And the reason I wanted to bring that was the very first meditation I ever did when I was 15, going through a challenging time, a teenager. I was, up and down, hormonal. And I came across a book in a bookshop in my town, and it was called Meditation for Beginners. And for some reason, thank you, whether you are up there, brought that book to me. And that meditation really, really helped me to carry on under some quite difficult circumstances. It wasn't the only meditation that helped me. There was one for sleep, which I won't actually share in public because I think that one is quite a very personal one to me. So yeah, I've decided not to share that one in public. But there are loads of meditations online. So this is a vote for meditation. When you go into meditation and you can hear my voice taking you into a place that changes your bodily state, or you go into a meditation and hear anyone else's voice, or if you meditate yourself, you can change. You will make changes in your mind, your body, and in your connection to spirit. Those changes might be small, they may be minor, they may not be literally noticed, but they all go into your pot of growth. So this is a vote for meditation. I do highly recommend it to everybody, and everybody would be best advised to explore different meditations until you find the process that works for you. Because what works for me may not be the one that works for you. And my purpose is to help people to discover their personal essence, which will be different from mine. So my purpose being to share transformation, because that's the journey that I've undergone, which has brought me to this place now. So I share transformation. That's what I do. That will always be now. If someone says to me, what do you do? I share transformation. That's it. So I'm done. Thank you for listening. And I'll be back on here. So we have a share tomorrow. It's going to be Jan Booth. Her interview will be shared tomorrow on this channel. And it's a conversation that I thought would be explaining everything about what I wanted Jan to share around her journey. But 1 hour isn't enough. So I will be inviting Jan back to do a part 2 at some point. And I need to stop talking about it because I want people to watch it for themselves. So I am going to go, and thank you.